Hey everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer and I'm here today to talk about the full moon in Aquarius that's happening on August 19th, 2024 at 11:25 a.m. Pacific time. This full moon is really significant as it is in the sign of Aquarius, the great awakener, the sign that rules liberation and freedom, free thought, the sign that rules humanitarian endeavors and the social change, social consciousness, environmental concerns. It's a sign that really sees not only what has been as it is co-ruled by Saturn, but also a sign that can see what is possible. But in order for that possibility to take place, things get shaken up a little bit, which is also why Aquarius rules unexpected things, things that seem to come out of nowhere, lightning. It also rules the nervous system and large structures like the World Wide Web and things attached to electricity, the thoughts, things associated with electricity. It's a trailblazer, a revolutionary by nature. And this is so significant because as the full moon is reflecting the light of the sun in its brightest phase, the focal point of this full moon is Uranus, because Uranus is in a T-square to both the sun and the moon who are in an opposition. We see the 27th degree, which is significant because that rules, the 27th degree is associated with the sign of Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is retrograde within 1 degree of this sun. So I'm just going to kind of pick this apart for you because we have another something going on in the background. The day of this full moon is the day of the National Democratic Convention. And I think this is significant because Uranus rules the people. It rules freedom of choice. It rules, liberation from oppression, okay? And we see this moon in this sign of Aquarius. So we've got this real double dose of wanting to know a deeper truth, to wake up to a deeper truth. We have history represented by the sign of Taurus. Taurus rules the history that shapes us, that creates our self-worth and our confidence and our ability to use our skills. Now, Uranus has been transiting through the sign of Taurus since 2018 and will continue on there through till 2026. And so this has been a series of awakenings, of liberations, of seeing where there has potentially been an Aquarian energy, both represented by Uranus and Saturn. Saturn representing history, representing government and hierarchical structures, representing karma, and karma being choice and choices that we make repetitively that we may not be fully aware of, that they are in some respect coming from a historic place, a dutiful place, a place of obligation versus maybe a place of true authenticity and self-expression. Now, the moon, the sun in its opposition, it feels to me as if the moon is not only reflecting the sun's light, but also a sense of this mercurial light as well. Mercury is very used to being close to the sun. Mercury is not really considered an emotional planet. It has no moons. And here it's retrograding in the sign of Leo, leadership, the sign of actually coming from my heart. But I'm going to focus in on the idea that the sun is the ruler of Leo. So here we're really focused on leadership. We're focused in on the sign of, that rules the kings. We are focused in on the sign that rebels against the king's oppression. And it's in relationship to the planet the sign that rules liberation from my old history, especially if that history is not allowed for a blossoming of my voice. This is so important because Taurus rules the voice, not just the singing voice, but your ability to speak your truth confidently. And we see that Uranus is in a square here to Mercury, and maybe feeling as if I can't speak my truth because it will not be palatable to an audience. Or on another level, because I did mention that we're having the Democratic National Convention, which I think is very important because we're going to be listening to speeches. We're going to be listening to Joe Biden for the first time since he has endorsed Kamala Harris, and we're going to really get an idea about the plan that the Democratic Party has for its leadership role moving forward. And I think this is going to really have a lot of us thinking and listening with a different kind of ear. Now, the reason I bring this up is not really to have a political conversation, but to emphasize how that's going to affect our everyday lives. Because at the same time as this full moon, we have Jupiter and Mars in a conjunction in the sign of community, in the sign of our neighborhoods, in the sign of thinking, speaking, writing, teaching, the media, news, journalism. It's in a square over here to Venus in Virgo at the 18th degree, which I think is significant because it's a double dose of Virgo. So I'm being really practical about my money right now. I definitely think this is in regards to money because Jupiter also rules money, and willing to fight for me to make the most money, to have the most opportunities, to have the expansion. And we have the first of 3 squares between Saturn and Jupiter. And Saturn is the co-ruler of this full moon. And Saturn is sitting in the sign retrograde of Pisces, which is fog, things being unclear, potentially feeling a little bit of blurry lines between what is truth and what is fiction. We also see that Saturn and Jupiter at the 17th degree, which to me is Leo, and goes back to playing to this house. And it's interesting that at the time of the chart, for me, Leo is the 10th house, which rules government. It rules leadership. It rules ambition and ego. And here it's in opposition. The moon is in the sign of home, the sign of patriotism, the sign of family. So I think that this full moon is going to be really illuminating because I think we have generations coming together, wanting to represent themselves as people who are paying attention. That's the way I want to put it. All of this, Jupiter rules higher education, broader thoughts, expansion, ideologies, philosophies, religion, our judicial system, as well as our money. So we've got this huge 2 T-squares. Now, as I look at the chart, I also see the quincunx to the Sun and Mercury between Pluto in 0 degrees of Aquarius. Within a few weeks, it's going to move back into Capricorn. And we see the quincunx to Neptune. Neptune and Pluto are making a sextile right through the moon. This is the finger of God pointing at leadership and communication and looking for people to come through with hearing, having people wanting to hear somebody come from their truth and the heart. And as we see, this square to Uranus is a challenging dynamic, which could lead to things that feel unexpected. There could be situations that reveal themselves through the finger of God. Now, let me be a little bit more specific about a finger of God and a yod. A yod is where 2 quincunxes create a focal point of a planet. And those quincunxes are 2 planets in sextile. The reason they call it a finger of God is because it indicates a focal point that the planets are offering. Now, the planets all represent a part of our own physical being, our own physical personality, characteristics, dimensions, and the environments that we walk through. So here, this is really, are we listening in a fog? Are we being emotional, too emotional? Here we are like, are we willing to dig down into that deep psychology that our fears paralyze us from making choices that are authentic? We have the focal point of our own ambition and leadership, as well as leadership around us, and how we think and how we're being spoken to. This could illuminate that we're being spoken to like ignorant children. It could also indicate that we're not getting enough information, which is why we see this square. We want to know more about how the future is going to look. And our independent thought over here, Chiron, making a nice trine over here to these two planets, that individual thought, the discernment, and allowing on some level the privilege of discernment for all. We should, I'm trying to preach, but I think as a worldwide community that we are all wanting our own personal self-expression. And it isn't to be contrary, it's to feel actually more connected through our individuality. So this full moon is hot, hot, hot. It is going to reveal something, I think, that is going to be extremely palatable and could potentially change the way you're thinking about something. You could start in one direction and end up in another direction. And I'm not pointing to whatever direction that is, but I do want to say that the nodes are starting, or Pluto is making a favorable aspect to the South node. That would be diplomacy, peace, harmony, the Venusian energy. It's making a very favorable aspect to the squaring Uranus to the sun. And it's making a nice aspect to Neptune, which is going to go on for the next decade. So I believe that those that are standing, what I like to call awareness of the ups and the downs, and that each experiences offers us some sort of choice or some sort of awareness that allows us to be intentional. Even if we're going to be hot and angry, we can be intentional about it. So it's constructive versus destructive. I also see this, the trine between Pluto and Uranus is making a focal point here in a favorable way to Neptune. The 29th degree reduces down to an 11. The 11 is the master number of thought. And if we add the spiritual dynamic and connection to spirit coming from our inner knowing, we have that to support us while we go through this very human dynamic in Gemini of dealing with the mind encased inside of an apparatus that is literally a machine. Most of the human body works on its own. You don't tell it to work. Your heart knows what to do. Your lungs naturally breathe. Your eyes move where you need your focus. And so when you think of your brain as part of that ecosystem doing the same thing and without intention, the brain is just another automatic system. So this is what's going to be awakened during this moon and during this full moon and during this whole week and the whole month of August. And if you haven't had a chance to check out the monthlies, please do, because August is just seasoned with many opportunities to demonstrate your own personal awareness and evolution for yourself, just by making choices as whether to step in or step out of certain conversations, because this is all about conversation and thought. Both Uranus and Mercury. Uranus is the higher octave, the genius of Mercury, being able to step up into space and look down on the earth and see it from a new perspective. And Mercury's, zipping around trying to get everything done it needs to do and make sure everybody's got the information and the schedule is being kept and everybody's included. So it's much more earthbound, which is why this focal point of this transit yod. Oh, and by the way, this yod is, it's been, when it was at 29 and 0 degrees, it was at its most potent focal point. Mercury has been there twice already. Mercury will retrograde all the way back to 21 degrees. At the end of the month, on the 28th, it will move forward again, and it will be the apex of this yod for the third time. This is going to be super powerful at that time, because everything that you've been experiencing now will coagulate, will come to some sort of conclusion, some reasoning, some sort of it'll give you some direction by then. So the awareness of that and the choice of that and feeling these tensions of the square is giving you an opportunity to really step into your value, to know that on some level, you might have to be brave to think independently for yourself. Mars is the self. What will be best for yourself? And in that, I think you'll find some sort of epiphany or some sort of conclusion or some sort of illumination. So it is a powerful, powerful moon. I think it's on some level very exciting. I'm not saying I don't have a little bit of trepidation about the dynamics of the planets right now, because they really speak of a lot of transformation and change. And change is only as hard as we make it through our perception. And the more flexible we are with change, the more we adapt and we become more expert at the renovated new version. All right, everybody, that's it for me for this full moon in Aquarius. Again, it's going to be a very illuminating week. I think this full moon is just the beginning. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear what epiphanies you may have had or what shifts in thinking you may have had. Because while we're looking at a dynamic here in the United States, which we're all walking through as far as this presidential year goes, these dynamics are longer reaching than just in this moment. It's almost like the choices we make now are teeing up the experiences that we'll have later. All right, everybody. Again, my name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer. If you'd like to book a reading with me, I'm available. My information is below. Feel free to reach out. Please join me Sunday mornings live at 11 a.m. Pacific time. That's where we look at the transits ahead, and then we do an angel card reading and pull a tarot card for each sign and get Spirit's advice for traversing those transits. All right, everybody, like, subscribe, share, and comment, sending lots of love to you, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.